Hello, everyone. I need to all of this. Got it. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Between Two Teachers, and today is Wednesday, May the 17th. We're bringing you the news from the local and state and nationwide on issues of education that are very, very important to us and to everyone, to children, to parents, and we all need to stay on top of these things. So we've got a lot of news for you, and we're going to get started. And my name is Consuelo Lara.
And my name is Madeline Cronenberg. And this is episode not that we're counting, but we are counting now. This is episode 197.
Ooh.
We're coming into it next month. We're going to hit 200. And I welcome you. And as always, as every week, I will give the land acknowledgement. And we pause to acknowledge that we have gathered today on the ancestral territory of Huichin, which is part of the unceded land of the Chochenyo and Karkin speaking Muwekma Ohlone people. We remember their continued connection to this region and thank them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray on their traditional homeland, and offer respect to all their elders and all Ohlone people, past and present. And we continue to advocate that as much as we acknowledge and thank them, we must support them in the work that needs to be done for the Muwekma Ohlone tribal community. And that is to work for justice for Muwekma. So if you're listening to me, and please make a note of that, Google it, and you'll come to the webpage that supports their efforts to become a federally recognized tribe. And as of right now, they are not. And that means the benefits associated with being a federally recognized tribe are not available to these tribal people whose land we are on. And the other thing that we talk about in education, because this is education, is the importance of telling the story appropriately. And this is the story our children learn so that they don't mislearn what we have been taught in the past about the history of the tribal communities who were here in California long before anybody else. And for us in California, right, in the East Bay, the place to go is the East Bay Regional Park website, where they have actually got the curriculum. They have done the work. So if you know a fourth grader, if you are connected and interested in understanding what the curriculum is that should be taught, that's where it lives. It lives on the East Bay Regional Park website.
And I have something to add in that area.
Yes,
tonight on our board meeting, there's a resolution in support of the Mount Diablo Interpretive Association Education Center, because they are now expanding, and it's really great. Their campaign is called The Spirit of Mount Diablo. And I love that. That's a wonderful thing. They're going to be able to offer field trips and educational opportunities, field trips by bus, which they haven't had before. And of course, their main goal is protecting our natural open spaces. So I'm just hoping that the educational opportunities that they will develop include some of these resources we just mentioned.
exactly.
That, when you go on the website, they have a wonderful land acknowledgement there. And this is what a great opportunity for this group to celebrate the indigenous people from that whole area. I mean, it's just wonderful.
They do. I'm looking at the website now. They call them out. Their acknowledgement is, we acknowledge that Mount Diablo is the ancestral home since time immemorial of the Wilton Rancheria, Bay Miwok, Confederated villages of Lisjan, Northern Valley Yokut, and Muwekma people. So they do identify the traditional tribes, but there's an opportunity to do more.
Yes. I really hope that they do consider embracing all of that. And that's the spirit of Mount Diablo, would be the and time in memoriam. I love that. Right?
Perfect. Yes. since
Perfect. So-
time immemorial. That's great. Beautiful
So-
language.
Actually, and I would have a shout out to them for putting this together and to going forward with it. I'd love to know more about it. I'm going to follow it and maybe go visit. And yeah, so we support all of that.
Right, well, they have a very wonderful website, which is, don't go to the state park website. This is the Mount Diablo Interpretive Association. So this is separate from the California State Park website, which also obviously exists. So this is a supporting booster group, sort of.
Yes.
And they have a multimedia tour, and they have their mission statement, which is to preserve the wonders of Mount Diablo State Park through interpretation, education, and outreach to all communities. So there's a tremendous amount to be done here.
That's great. That's great.
Mhm.
That's
It is. It is. So that is a very positive thing. So we actually have a lot of positive news in education this week, and that is a good thing. We've taken a little break since our last episode, but since that time, the good people at the Oakland Education Association were hard at work and were on strike for 7 days. However, over this weekend, over the Mother's Day weekend, they resolved their strike. And I think it's important for us to understand what they got and why it was important, why they went on strike. They've been on strike before. And the issues that they resolved were really global issues, or issues that are important, I think, to students all over the country. They're sort of a national set of issues. The first one was, we've talked about this and nobody else talks about this, but pay. And so obviously they needed more pay. And so there's nothing, they argued for more pay, and there were lots of details in the salary schedule as to what they got. But one of the things that jumped out at me, because of the conversations we've had here, is their substitute pay. They put that in the contract. And their substitutes will now be tied to 100% of the daily rate of step 1 on the TK scale. That is a big difference between where they were before.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the most important thing about their subs. They have it in their contract. It says retired teachers who return as a daily sub, this is an elementary sub, will be paid at the daily rate from their last cell pre-retirement.
Wow. Great. They're really encouraging them.
That
Oh,
I looked at that and I said, that's exactly, we spoke about that in the last episode, right? About bringing people back and not making it impossible for them to come back. But everywhere else those teachers are going to go, they're going to have what it says up at the beginning. They're going to be placed on an hourly substitute rate, which is going to be much lower than what that teacher was making when he or she retired.
yeah. That's right. That's right. Oh,
Right?
how smart is that?
I mean, the 7 days was worth it. That was really smart. And that is really honoring what, to me, that was honoring when they're talking about this in there. This isn't just them being greedy teachers. They're talking about subs. They're talking about making sure that they can get the best possible subs, who in fact are the veteran teachers.
Bet. That's it. That's the gold mine, really, for subs.
It is, right? And so they're all going to go to Oakland now.
That's
Think about it. But what has to happen is everybody else has to do the same thing.
Oh, yeah, we do. Oh, yeah, here in West Contra Costa, we need to do that.
Right. Well, I mean, in the county, this is,
Whole county.
this is a model. I was so impressed.
Good. That's
The
good.
other thing they have in there, they have their this is for elementary as well. And this is a boost. When a teacher's not able to come in and you have to cover that class with a sub, and remember that happens at least 10% and sometimes up to 20% in your lower income schools. What happens to those children? Well, in the elementary world, they get assigned to other teachers. They get split up and taken and put in. If no sub comes, right? Now the subs are gonna come because now they're paying them more money. They're more likely to get subs. But if they don't, if it doesn't happen, what happens is now they're gonna get, a unit member will be compensated $15 per student that they add in that day.
Yeah.
But this is what is interesting. There was some compensation for that before. I don't think it was 15.
Mhm.
But each school site now must have a written plan for how to avoid splitting classes and how they will distribute students in the fewest groups possible,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Because up until now, we haven't had this is the biggest disruption that happens in a class, in a school building, and there was no requirement for a plan.
yeah. Wow. I mean, because it's
So-
inevitable, it's gonna happen, so you might as well have a plan for it.
Right,
Okay,
as opposed to zero plan,
no plan.
which is what everybody has had up until now. So now that it's in the contract, so this is why you have to do it. Once you put it in the contract, now you have to do it because you can grieve it if they don't do it.
Right.
That's it. That's why I was so impressed by this. They also did something that they haven't had before, which is a VAPA faculty council. So their VAPA teachers, their visual and performing arts teachers, are now going to have their own faculty council within Oakland Unified to make sure that there is collaboration and that all the students are able to get their visual and performing arts education. That didn't exist before. It was
Wow.
never, and hardly anybody has that, because once you put the faculty council together, then all of a sudden everybody is meeting each other. They're seeing the differences in what is being what's happening in each of their schools, and that only happens if you have a faculty council.
Wow, that's great. That makes so much sense. They should have
And
had
it's right, but in the contract. So it's not just, oh, it's up to, one superintendent likes it and the next one doesn't. It's in the contract.
the
This is-
contract.
That's why contracts are important. Then they had their community schools. So they have a community school MOU. They have one on Black thriving community schools, and another one on school closures. So
Uh-oh.
these are in the contract.
Okay.
And they're MOUs, but there's parts of them that are actually grievable. So these are different than just side agreements that aren't important. Sometimes you have MOUs, you say, oh, it's just an MOU. You can undo it. You can't undo it if it's connected to the contract in this way. They've got, this is in the last couple of things I'll just say, in community schools, and also in their reparations for Black students task force. In both of those parts of the contract, right, where they're looking to address the issues, community issues for their children, there have been teams of people, voting teams, that decide how money is going to be spent, right? And they, for example, got a total of $66 million in community school money. And the district wanted, their position was that the district would be in charge of the money. And you would have these groups of people, you would have councils, you would have committees, but in each case, the district would have the majority of members. They would be district appointed administrators, basically, on those committees, so that they are then run essentially by the district, which is totally different from the spirit of community schools, which is a collaboration with your workforce and with the community. So they've changed that. And there is now, in all of these bodies, these appointed bodies, OUSD will not select the majority of voting members on any of those bodies anymore.
These are very significant things, aren't they? These are very significant changes.
They are big changes, right? And these are the kinds of changes that they are a real shift as to whose role, where the power is, who's going to make the decisions. And you can see why they fought over it.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the big questions in looking at we've been talking about how you look at things through an equity lens. And one of the big questions is who is affected by this? And how much input do those people who are most effective have on those decisions? So this clearly is including them in those. So this is
That's exactly right. These
equity.
parts of this contract are totally driven through an equity lens. I mean, you can just see it. And the final one that I'm going to just point to here is with respect to their reparations task force and their desire to address the performance of African-American children. They're doing the thing you have to do. This is, your budget is a moral document. They now have five teachers, 5 full-time teachers on special assignment to support historically Black schools, to help those teachers. All they're doing full-time is implementing the Black Student Thriving Plan. So
Ooh,
that's like a department.
wow, great. Yes.
Right, and that's in the contract.
Oh,
So, and no, it says no employee in this position shall be assigned to more than one school without mutual agreement between the union and OUSD. So what they have are schools that have 40% or more of African-American children are going to have all sorts of opportunities to support these children. And in order to have those actually happen, somebody has to be paid to make it work.
yes.
Somebody who, not just the principal and not the teacher, somebody who is specifically understands what the goals are around having their African-American children thrive. So I am very impressed by that. That was the other big call out, because that just shows when they went on strike, it was an equity strike. They went on strike for their children.
They really did. They really did. You're right. Those 7 days were really worth it. This is a good thing. Wow.
Right? It really is. And you just have to dig down a little bit, but not that far. I mean, these are big differences. So, and I know that Mr. Thurmond was involved in the negotiations. He was there. Other people were there because nobody wanted them to go any further. And eventually Oakland got there. And they got there. The other last thing I'm going to say about Oakland is one thing they have to do now is they got to figure out how to get their next school board member.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a biggie. Yeah.
Right? Because they still have only 6 members because of they are the poster child of the failure of ranked choice. Right? That was the mistakes that were made. People don't want to talk about what the mistakes were because it wasn't election fraud. This was election mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it created nothing but what mistakes can do, that you can't try. You're not ready to run something if you're not ready to run something. What we learned in Oakland was that the elections department wasn't ready to run the ranked choice. They didn't have guardrails or backup procedures to double check what they were doing, and got to the point where they left Oakland in this unfortunate position of having to now still find somebody to be in that on their board.
There you go. Okay.
But that's the Oakland story.
Right.
So now tell us about the county.
Okay, well, we have a meeting tonight. We have some good things on there we're going to talk about. And one of the things I know, we're planning for another retreat, which I think is important. We got to figure out this whole committees issue. We have a big issue with that. So stay tuned for that one. That's going to be interesting. But I'm going to talk about the housing tonight. We did pass the housing resolution. And so now it's a matter of, we won't be discussing this because not on the agenda, but we're going to, in the next, we have one in 2 weeks, another meeting. So I want us to talk about what's our role now that we've passed this, and you look at the specifics of the resolution. So we need to determine what's going to be the role of the board, of us advocates, of us electeds, and what is the role of the Office of Education going to be. So one of the things that the Office of Education does perfectly, wonderfully, is it provides professional development in so many areas. I mean, it's just amazing. They can bring in all kinds of experts and provide amazing professional development. So that's one. They also provide technical advice for implementing programs, new programs, or to applying for grants and things like that. They have a lot of individuals there you can go to get help on that. So that's another. And then lastly, they're like this warehouse of resources, of information that you can connect and you can go there and find out more information about a certain area, curriculum, or what resources. So those are things that they do already. So if we look at the content of housing and put that content into those things, what, you know, what that can look like to provide technical support about housing, to provide professional development about housing, to be able to offer resources about housing, teacher housing, education housing, etc. So there's a real great potential there
It's an
happening.
absolute role for the County Office of Education.
Of education, absolutely. And it's not something they haven't been doing. It's what they've been doing. So
They just haven't been doing it in the world of education workforce housing.
exactly. So
Right.
I don't know if that'll, we'll see. That's just a, another option there. And for us as a board, I think at this point, it seems like, we're all from different areas. It's time for us to go to our areas and find out what's happening there. What's the need there? What's happening? What's the history? I know in my area, I've seen a lot of things like the feasibility report they did years ago. I know there's a project right now that came out of UC Berkeley about Alvarado School. I know, so I'm going to do more research about what we've done. And they had the 7-Eleven committee. So I need to put all of that together and just in my own head find out where things are. And actually, luckily, I'm getting a lot of support from our city council people and from our different cities. So that's really exciting because this does have to do, our cities and our district have to collaborate. That's the most important thing.
And the cities understand they too want workforce housing. You can have workforce housing for their workforce, for the city workforce, right? As well as for education workforce. And the ideas behind that are identical. I mean, the real issues are finding the land, looking at who the possible developers might be, and then looking for where your financing is going to come from. And that also is advocacy with the federal government, where I know you went and spoke to them, right? Because financing is often done through federal means.
Yes, absolutely. So I think we're at the point now, there's so much interest and it's, as we've learned, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
It's very complex. We need to look to our experts. And so we are going to plan this big convening, and we need experts in just those areas you talk about, experts in financing these things, experts in what, accessing that surplus property. What are the agencies, both nonprofits that are involved in this and the developers, and just put this panel of experts together so that we're all, sharing the information,
Right.
breaking the silos. I was reading something about the silo mentality, and really it comes down to information. It's sharing information, and that's how you break those silos. So
Exactly.
yeah, so we've got
And perspectives. I think what happens is when people are in silos, they have the perspective of that silo only, right?
yes.
And it's like almost the community schools thing, where the district can't believe that they would have to give up some power and not be in control of making decisions, right? And that's because that really was the silo. They were in the district silo.
Yeah.
And it's hard, right? It's hard to leave that. And the same thing is true then here with building. There are models. People are able to put these models together, and it can make a difference for building the housing that our workforce totally must have.
And another shout out I have is to Devin Murphy, the mayor of Pinole, who has reached out to me, and we're going to collaborate as much as we can. I'm just so excited about this. And he's got that, feels like we have the same vision. And so we're going to move forward on some.
I'm incredibly excited. And maybe we can have Mayor Murphy come and we can bring him on Between Two Teachers.
That sounds great.
Totally, that's something. Maybe we'll do that for episode 200.
Oh, you're this.
You never know. We'll see.
Never know.
We'll see.
Okay.
Did you have anything else you wanted to share?
No, that's
Yep.
it.
That's your shout out. Your shout out is to Mayor Murphy. My shout out is to the 50 members of the Oakland Education Association bargaining team. Good work.
Yes, absolutely. Good work.
Good work. It's a 50-member team. That's a lot. I mean, you can imagine they had to learn how to collaborate with each other.
Yeah.
And they had to show up at all those bargaining sessions, and they had to stay strong.
Yeah.
When there was a lot of community, there was community pushback. They certainly had pushback,
Yeah.
but they stayed true to their cause. So they're my big shout out is to them.
Good job.
And we will see you all next week with our episode 198. Our next episode is 198. So until then, bye-bye from Between Two Teachers.